Okay, let's see if this is working. Gonna hop on and see if my okay, testing. Oh, I think it's all working. It's gonna be a little harder for me to type and everything now, but not type, sorry, but chat, because now I gotta like actually look off to the side constantly. But I do my best here. Basically, this is the second go of trying to get this paint stream going tonight. And the issue I had in the first one is just that my camera stopped streaming. It just kind of froze, at least for me. I couldn't get it to do anything. And I mucked about with it for a bit, trying to figure out what the problem is. And I think the issue is this laptop here. It's quite old, 20, let's just say 16. So it's like 6 or 7 years old. And I think just honestly, it's probably not up to snuff running a USB-C webcam. This is a Logitech Stream Cam, and I think maybe it's just too new, or at least too good for that thing. It was okay when it came out, but at this point here, I think it might be sort of on its last leg, since it's a gaming computer, and I ran it pretty hard for many years. So yeah, I'm going to get back to what I was doing. So anyways, I am working on Eandon. These are the yellow and blue Eldar. Their craft world is one of the the main ones that get talked about, and they're quite striking in my mind, with the mainly yellow armor and the bright blue helmets, red trim. Their soul stones are red. I'm going to do their hair red where it sticks out, the plumes or whatever they're called. And yeah, it's a cool army. And the reason I like them is sort of their background, other than just, again, I like the way they look. So their background is that, like all Eldar, they are a dying race. There's not many of them, but these guys specifically, they lost a ton of their people to a few really bad wars. So at one point, they got attacked by Tyranids specifically, who wound up on the craft world, and I don't know how many people on there died, but it's Warhammer, so probably like 90% or some ridiculously high number that they shouldn't have come back from, but they did to whatever extent. And yeah, they just, as a sort of result of that, they focus on Wraith units. So when the Eldar got redone last time, which was around 2012, 2011, somewhere in there, it was like sixth edition, and they got a lot of new units around the Wraiths. So we got new Wraith Guard, which came with Wraith Blades. We got the Knights. We had gotten updated not War Walkers, but what do they call Wraith Lords back around 2006 or 7 or something, and they already looked really good. They fit the aesthetic, and technically, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they are sort of the proto Wraith Guard and all that we got. Everything we got that was newer was based on what they looked like. It was a big diversion from the original Wraith Lords, which were kind of like eggs on legs. And getting those guys around 2007 was really nice for Eldar. We don't get a lot of new units, historically speaking. And seeing that nice big plastic kit was cool. So when the rest of the Wraith stuff got updated, they just followed along the design principles they went for with the original plastic Wraith Lord, which is the one we still have. I mean, I'm calling it original. It's the only plastic Wraith Lord. So this yellow I'm using, for anybody who's watching this at a later time, this is Bad Moon Yellow. Yellow is historically, for gamers, for Warhammer players, painters, whatever you do in this hobby that you enjoy, it's one of the harder colors to paint well. It doesn't have good coverage. It requires a lot of like fiddling to get it right. And I've sort of always wanted Eandon, but didn't want to deal with this hassle. But as you can see, I mean, this is a really, really fast way to do yellow. I mean, there's other options in the contrast range, but Bad Moon Yellow, it gives me the brightness I want with the coverage. And here's an example of a guy who's, partially done. There's still work to do, but there's not a lot of actual brush time. And with anything that's a larger amount of yellow, where you don't have to be super careful, at least in the initial stages, you can sort of just slap it on. And that's, again, just something you're not usually going to be doing with yellow. You're going to be more careful starting with maybe like a purple or a brown. I've seen all kinds of different tricks of how to get there, starting with white, but then still having to build up multiple layers to get it the way you want it to look. And this is a really good example here. I'm not going to be able to fit the whole thing in frame, but this is a Wraith Knight I'm working on. This is brush on. This is brushed on. Normally, I would not bother brushing on paint to something this size, specifically in yellow, but I wanted to try it, and as long as I was careful, it didn't pool very bad. Now, this model got built a long time ago, and not by me. So unfortunately, it's got some issues with gaps and stuff. I probably could have been a little more careful going over it, but I didn't really, I guess, notice how bad it was until I got it reprimed. It actually had been painted a different color, and the person had done. Sorry, I realized I missed a spot, and I want to grab it now while I see it. The person basically didn't do a lot of gap filling, but it's something I can probably fix up later. Worst case, on the more egregious gaps I'm seeing now. I didn't notice them with the blue it used to have, so maybe that's maybe the glue is let go or something because of the paint stripper I used and the alcohol. But I guess we'll see. So carrying on with yellow, I'm going to move on to this guy. This is the new. I'm going to change up the angle real quick. There, that's better, I think. If you can let me know in the comments if you think that's a better angle, that'd be awesome. And actually, I just noticed there's somebody here. I wanted to say thanks for stopping by. Oh, and you're gone. That's okay. So, yeah, this is a great yellow. Anyways, I've been painting so much Guard the last few months, trying to get them caught up on my Cadian 122nd. I've been working on my Krieg, my Death Corps of Vostroya. So I've been doing sort of the same things over and over and over again. And it's nice to break away from blue and red and do so much yellow. And even though this is not a difficult painting task getting the yellow on here, it's still just a nice break. Also, just a flat color. With my Cadians, I went for a fairly, maybe not complex, but in-depth camo scheme that I had to repeat 150 times or whatever it's amounted to so far. And with my Vostroyans, even though they're mostly red, there's a lot going on. I followed sort of the official how to paint Vostroyan guides and some really good guides put out by other YouTubers. And just kind of in general, I kind of got worn out painting guardsmen. There's a lot of guardsmen in an army if you're playing them infantry heavy. And with 10th edition, I probably need even more if I want to do a really infantry heavy list now that we can have units of 20. So we're away from having just those 10-man squads, which is nice. Oops, a little bit of overbrushing there, but that's okay. I can fix that later. Just want to get his robes painted in this yellow. Now, I've had a few games with my Eldar now, and I've definitely noticed that, unlike what a lot of people are saying, these guys are not instant winners. I don't consider myself to be a super strong player. I play often just lists that I find to be fun, or that are kind of gimmicky. Like I want them to do a certain thing, and I build around that. And it's not, I'm not building around a strength. I'm building around a sort of like fluffy idea in my head, and usually that doesn't amount to much. With Eldar, we do tend to have one of the more easy to pick armies. Pretty much everything's good, and I know a lot of people are saying that's an issue. Eldar are too strong. Eldar need to be toned down. But I keep saying the same thing in comments across, Facebook, Reddit, YouTube. I really wish GW would focus less on what they can do to nerf my Eldar and more focus on what they can do to make my guard better, make my Night Lords better, make them more fun to pick and play like these guys are. I have not come across a unit yet that isn't, just fun and to some extent viable. Just a second. I'm thinking about how I want to continue this guy. I'm looking at him now and realizing he has 2 layers of robes. And I was going to just paint his robes yellow, but now I'm wondering if I should have painted his outer robe a different color, but we're already done. We're already past that. I don't want to give him a blue robe on the inside, I don't think. I might. We'll see. I'm trying to keep the blue minimal, but this guy here, he might get a lot more blue. I'm going to set him to the side for the moment. Next up, I got this guy. This is an autarch from, oh geez, I don't even know, 2000, let's just say. He's from an Eldar starter army box set. Back in the early 2000s, late 90s, when we got starter sets, usually, whether it was 40K or fantasy, we would get one model that was exclusive to that box. Usually the stuff in the box was a mixture of plastic kits and metal blisters. There were no resin kits available outside of Forge World. And this is the guy we got, excuse me, in this army. I remember when the first plastic Cadians came out, their box army was lots of Cadian shock troops. You got a metal command squad. You got some sentinels, and I don't think they got heavy weapons because heavy weapons didn't come right away, the plastics. We initially just kept using the pewter ones, I believe. I could be wrong on that. It's 20 years ago, but what that one came with was a standard bearer, and he was just like if I recall, he was just a different looking army battle standard, but a platoon one, command squad one. Eldar got this guy instead, and this is a really cool autarch. So what autarchs are is they're the military leaders of the Eldar. They represent members of society who went into the path of the warrior. Usually they've passed through multiple of the aspect warrior paths. This one here, he has Mandy Blasters, meaning he's gone through the striking scorpion aspect path. I think he also is supposed to have been a dire avenger. I think this guy was like a dire avenger and a striking scorpion. I don't see anything else on here that's telling me anything else about that guy's story. He's got some cool banners on the back. He's overall just a really cool model. I like him a lot. He's got one of the OG tactical rocks. GW has always loved having our guys, our special guys, standing on something. So he was sculpted onto some metal bric-a-brac, stones. And yeah, he's a cool model. Sorry about how much he's reflecting. He's this is Vallejo white spray. I was going to use my airbrush to prime all these guys, but I've had a bunch of extra cans of different things kicking around, so I just decided to use these. And yeah, he's just reflecting really bad with all the lights. I'm trying to keep this, somewhat dimmed, but also bright enough that I can see. Farseers, if you aren't aware, they are on the path of the witch or something like that, but essentially they've dedicated their life to it, and they are seers. They can see the future. That's their whole thing. Sorry about my hand being in the way. We have to figure this out. Basically, like I said at the start, my laptop I think could not run this thing efficiently. There was some flickering and then it just died. It stopped working. It froze. So I had to drag my PC out a little bit to get the cable to reach so that I can plug it into my PC and run it off of that and then have it stretched over to here. Trying to figure out how I want to do this guy. Well, I'm going to give him yellow armor. Now, normally I'm fairly neat with my painting, but when I'm using contrast paints, I find it's difficult to stay super neat. Some people are very good at that. I'm not. So what I just try to do is keep it the best I can, but not worry if it goes into places I didn't want it, because it's really not hard to fix it. You just basically go over it after with one of the pots of colors that match. Now, normally I'm using a lot of Wraithbone on these guys, but I went white, and I found this is a really good. If I can get this to focus. Oh, it's also backwards. I'll have to figure out what's going on with that, why it's mirrored. Anyways, this is Spaceship Exterior from Army Painter, and it's a really nice alternative to GW's what is it called? Wraithbone. And it's also a few dollars cheaper per pot. So it's an option for everybody to keep in mind if they're using the Wraithbone color and you want to have a pot of paint for fixing mistakes. I like that one. So yeah, these guys are Yandon, so I need to keep his helmet blue. That's a big part of them, at least for me. I'm going to be able to go around him, though, and grab his back. And all the rest of this armor, get it in yellow. Any spot that I'm going to paint black, I'm absolutely not concerned about getting it perfectly right, because I use Black Legion, and Black Legion is probably one of the best black paints out there in terms of coverage. It'll go over this yellow no problem. I will have to fix a few spots, but that's okay. So that's most of his armor. He's working on the armor in the front. And now it's just a case of deciding what I want to do with his coat. I'm going to, again, like the Eldar Farseer there, think about what I'm going to do with his coat, just because. Just a second. Well, that's unfortunate. I had something apparently get stuck to him at some point prior to spraying, so I'll have to figure out how to fix that later. I'm not going to do it now. I just wanted to get whatever it was off, because it was definitely flaking as I painted over it. So yeah,